once in a lifetime. She comes along and gives you love each day. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime.
Today we are continuing our conversation on racism. This is Kyle2U. For those coming back, we filmed a little bit like 20 minutes ago and then took a break because 20 minutes is a lot of talking and I'm not that entertaining, and he certainly isn't. But
I can't even read, actually.
So let's talk about racism. Would it be bad if I wanted to... Oh,
What's
jeez.
That is, wouldn't be very nice. It's not what Jesus would do, being that he's from the Middle East.
Yeah, that is actually very, very true.
Well, we all descended from that area, so, you know, you'd be blowing up yourself, essentially. Because we're all one, get it?
Are you high?
Yeah, I was.
She said I got that from the Donald.
Are we allowed to curse on here? Because last time...
Yes, we're not allowed to curse. Oh, so I saw this movie. Here's what you do if you curse. If you're going to curse, instead of saying a curse, you name a female pop star. Imagine if you stub your toe and you're like, Shakira!
Right, Shakira works.
Last week, we had a bunch of people that were involved in talking about racism and how it affected them specifically, which I thought was very, very interesting. There was a guy that talked about how he was mixed and he didn't feel that he belonged to either race. He felt kind of alone, which I never, ever, ever really thought about. My godson, who I talked about at the last show, is mixed, and I don't think about it.
I mean, I think you just have to be yourself, and obviously I can't say much because I'm not mixed, but I think that if you are yourself, you know, enjoy your life, be who you are, people are always going to hate you. And yeah, probably if you're mixed, you're going to have a lot of stupid people on both sides that judge you because you're not as completely what they are. But it doesn't matter. You know, you're dealing with someone who's basing their opinion off of something that's baseless anyway. Oh, you have a certain amount of melanin, so F you. It's not an appropriate way to think. It shows a social deficiency, in my opinion.
Is racism a mental illness? Is hate a mental illness?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's more of a mental illness than it is an appropriate way of being. I think it's just people that can't rationalize very well.
This is interesting. E-doozy. I'm pretty sick of being targeted for being white.
I get the point because I feel that way sometimes as well, but we started it. If you think about it, we started it. I agree with you, and because, yeah, when you're white, anyone who's not white, everything you do is racist. We're automatically racist because we're white and because we're privileged and things like that. I get that. But at the same time, you know, if you look at the history and how we got to where we are today, there's a reason that people feel the way that they do about Caucasian people. It's not because we were making Christmas cookies for everyone. There's specific reasons that people feel a certain type of way. Even when we were in high school, people were inclusive, right? And when the people that are inclusive also have the power, the money, I mean, I think any type of racism is irrational and...
Any type of hate is
Right.
irrational.
Right.
However, I want to bring something up. She mentioned white privilege. She said so-called white privilege. And I've got to say, this is a real, white privilege is a real thing. And let me explain. Numerous studies done where a black person and a white person fakely, you know, this is researchers doing this, put in an application and same exact resume.
Right.
The person with the black sounding name does not get the job, even though they have the exact same qualifications. And then they took it a step further and they applied for jobs. One with the white person with the white sounding name had less qualifications than the black person with the black sounding name, and the white person got the job. That's white privilege. The fact that white people don't have to worry about that. I mean, there's obviously still racism today. Look at Donald Trump, of all people. Do you think that this doesn't occur? Or I'm crazy, or what? Are you kidding me? I just answered your question. She said, sorry, I stepped away.
I mean, I don't think anyone is saying that any race can be stupid and rude to another race just because of the race that they are. So a black person can be ignorant and rude or racist to a white person and vice versa. But the difference is, look at the percentage of races that own companies. Look at Fortune 500 companies. It's 98% white. If you think there are no externalities to that, that's delusional. But realistically, get over it. People are going to be dumb. There's a lot of challenges in life.
Who are you telling to get over it?
Anyone who, if anyone is saying something to you to make you mad, you give them the power by getting upset about it.
So I just want to clarify. So you were telling black people, get over racism.
Obviously, it's much deeper than that. Rise above someone who says something rude to you for no reason. Obviously, it's a lot to deal with, and over time, yes, it creates a lot of negative energy and a lot of, hate. For the most part, how much energy should you spend thinking about someone who said something mean to you?
But that's not all racism is. It's also a systematic...
I never said that's all it is. That'd be ridiculous, but that's one part.
So how do you say, oh, you didn't get that job just because you're black? Get over it. That's ridiculous. Oh,
right.
You didn't get that house because you're black? Oh, get over it.
Okay, so clearly I'm not saying the playing field is equal. I'm not saying they're not going through that, but what are they supposed to do if they're not going to get over it? What should they do?
Change this...
change the system. Right, exactly.
Start a conversation like
we're doing, exactly. And I agree with you. I think that it's dialogue is what's going to solve a lot of this type of stuff. People talking about it.
So to clarify what you're saying, you're not saying black people get over racism.
No, it's. But know that you're better than that person that just called you an N-word for no reason. Don't let that affect every white person that you've ever seen. A couple idiot Caucasian people said something racist to you, so therefore that's the entire white race. Unfortunately, the past is the past, and we've had a long road of blatant racism and all that type of stuff. But yeah, things have changed a little bit for the better over the past 50 years at least. And we still have a long way to go. If a black person goes to the store and someone, looks at them, if I'm white and I walk into the store and an old lady gives me a weird look, I'm not going to immediately think that person's racist. I'm probably not at all going to think that they're racist. And yes,
but that's because you haven't had a lifetime of racism.
The only thing you can do is try to change the system and try to speak to people and try to bring up these topics. But what are you going to go home and cry about it and plan on killing a white lady later? Like, what do you think you should do other than obviously talking and trying to make change?
So
there's not so much you can do.
So Tracy said, and I completely disagree with this. Tracy said they get things for free that we don't because of what happened in the past.
Look at the percentages. More white people are on welfare than black people.
Exactly. So I would love to know what you mean by that.
And okay,
I'm challenging you on that.
Look at your taxes. About less than 5% goes to welfare. 30% goes to corporate subsidies. Yeah, so rich people. That's rich people.
Right, and then 40% goes to military, of whom a large percentage of our military are black people, or minorities, I should say. Black College Fund, there's Irish College Fund, there's Native American College Fund. I mean, so you can't just say, oh, Black College Fund. Anybody can set up a college fund. BET, CBS. CBS is the whitest channel ever. Well, maybe not as white as CMT, the country music television. But BET, there's a reason we need BET, and that is because there is no other place that is representative of the black culture on television. With the white culture, you can go to 349 other channels and see life represented. Minorities are underrepresented on television. If minorities are, 38% of the population of the United States, they are 4% represented on television. So that to me is why we need BET. Okay, they have Black Month. If we did White Month, we would be racist. Black History Month, correct. And that is because, again, black history is underrepresented in education. And the rest of the freaking year is White History Month. Right. Of course, Tracy said that's fine, but we are not allowed to do the same. Of course we could. Do we not have Irish, or what's it called, St. Patty's Day? And here we have a big Italian-American festival week and Puerto Rican Day parade. I mean, every kind of minority is represented in some way.
Right. I mean,
or not.
Well, totally, but I think that's That's true that all of those, different nationalities are represented, but look at what happened to bring us to where we are today as far as the inner cities, as far as urban areas. There were equal rights given in 1964. So as soon as those equal rights were given, do you think automatically all white people were like, oh, hey, Jamar, come on into my house and join my... No, they were completely exiled from society. Research redlining, that's redlining, and you can see how African Americans were not allowed to purchase homes in white areas, and if they were, they had crosses burnt on their front porch. Just talk to your grandparents about that. Now, we didn't want them in our schools, we didn't want them anywhere near us, we made them go to certain areas in urban areas, which we made sure that they lived in specific areas. We wouldn't give them loans. I'm not making this up. Google it for yourself. But think about it. We didn't welcome them in and try to make them a part of society. Even if you had a degree back then. Oh, we're not hiring that damn, I don't care where he graduated. Talk to any black person that is 50 years old or older. I guarantee you they have stories of being called an N-word to their face at work. Because I know several right now that I could even bring on the show if you wanted to talk to.
I know people our age that
right. So if but black people get stuff for free, and so why don't we? Well, there's multiple different reasons. So think about back in 1965, once they were given rights, who owned the companies? Who had 100% of the power? And when black people did start to get power before 65, what happened? Research Oklahoma in the early 30s. What happened there? It was called Black Wall Street. Black people finally started to create organizations. Guess what we did? We blew up literally the entire town. I'm not going to go into it more, research it. That type of stuff happened for hundreds of years. It was illegal for black people to read up until about, 70 or 80 years ago. Are you kidding me? And now we're giving them money. Are you It's just the logic of white people being in their comfortable area. I don't want to think outside the box, blah, blah, blah. You're stupid. Anyone who thinks like that. And I'll talk, and I was stupid like that too until I actually researched it. No, I'm an idiot as well. But actually look into it. Every day, try to put yourself in other people's shoes and really how it would be without any sort of bias. And you'll realize that it's really not as even as we think it is right now. And yes, we're making strides to get there. But we're all stupid animals and we don't have very good rational sense.
Edoozy mentioned, what about the Irish? What she's talking about is the Irish slaves. Let's talk about that for a second. There were no Irish slaves in America. What there were was indentured servants. There's a huge, huge difference between indentured servitude and slavery. Slavery is when they ripped them from their country and brought them here as a piece of property and were that person's property until the day they died. When they were raped by their owner, that child was then their property until the day that that child died. There was no freedom. You were property. Indentured servitude is when you willingly enter a contract and for a set amount of time where you're doing work for X amount of dollars, and at the end of that contract, you get your freedom and the money. Indentured servitude was a way for Irish people in Ireland to have a better life in America. They would enter a contract. The guy would bring him over here, put him up for however many years they agreed to. I think it was typically 5 to 7 years. And then at the end of that 5 to 7 years when he did work, he was never property. The Irish were never property. They were servants. They were employees. Slaves were not employees. They were property. I owned you. With indentured servitude, that is not what it was. And then at the end of your contract, you got a big, $5,000 or whatever, and you were free to start your life in America. That is the difference.
I think that there's clearly differences in which they were treated compared to African slaves in this country. But I mean, she has a point.
Irish were not slaves,
right? But as far as it's common knowledge that when the Irish came over here in large numbers, and the same with the Italians, that they were treated significantly different.
Citizens, of course, but they were not property.
And they could and also they could more easily blend in, because once you come and you make a baby with someone else who is also Caucasian. You go from being Irish to, what really are you? Oh, who cares? You look like me, so it really doesn't matter.
You're white.
If you're black, it's a completely different story. If you're Muslim, it's a completely different story. But the different European countries, yeah, you're a guap. If you're Italian, you come over here. Oh, all those guaps are dumb. So the original people who were over here hated on all the newcomers, hated on the Irish, hated on the Italians. But then they kind of blended in, and all that was left were the Asians. There's many differences as far as appearance that obviously means a lot in society as far as how you look. A lot of really petty nuances can piss someone off. Like as far as, I don't like the way he talks. Oh, look at the way he carries himself. He ain't respectful. Pull up your pants. And there's points to be made there, but I think it comes down a lot to the family structure. Not getting jobs and years of that. I'm not saying that it's completely white people's fault, because it's not. But there's something to be said in the way in which the system was set up over the past 40 to 50 years. If you research it, hundreds of years.
We all agree blacks were treated fair, but usually said it's time to move on. Here's the thing: they can't move on when it's still happening. When black people are being shot in the street for being black, you can't move on from that.
I had a very diverse friend base in high school, and the majority of my white friends literally called me an N-lover, and treated me differently because I was open-minded.
And this is within 10 years.
And yes, it's petty, and yes, I should be able to overlook that, but I'm just pointing out that clearly it still means something, that 10 years ago in high school, people treated me like I was a lunatic because I hung out with people that weren't white. That's petty European Caucasian bull-ish, in my opinion. And I think this is something that collectively as human beings we're working on getting over, not judging the book by its cover. And we're going to need to evolve spiritually a little bit more in order to realize that it's all BS. But until then, all we can do is talk about it and laugh about it and cry about it and punch our mothers in the face about it.
Wait, what? If I walked into a black neighborhood in New Orleans, I would get shot. That is so overdramatic.
I think it's a good possibility, yeah.
What? No, it's not.
But they'd shoot anybody. It was, yeah, you'd probably get shot, yes. Because
what do you know?
Because you're white and you have money. Yes.
How do you know she has money?
They might assume that she has money because she's probably...
That is so ridiculous. Do you know how many white people walk through New Orleans and don't get shot?
I don't think,
insane.
I don't think they would shoot her because she's white and they're racist. I think they would shoot her because they have nothing and they were put in a very desperate situation. So yes, that's a free meal.
I have walked through, I'm not kidding, through Compton in Los Angeles at 2 a.m. Walked down the street by myself and nobody did or said a thing to me. People were like, yo, what's up, man? I mean, there was no...
It's a significantly higher percentage of being shot where you were there compared to walking in Middletown, Delaware. That's hands down a fact.
And what I'm saying is,
right.
I was in Compton.
Right, I've been to Anaheim, which is similar, not as bad, but close.
And Anaheim is where Disney World is. Disneyland.
Go to Anaheim, bro.
I've been to Disneyland.
Go 2 blocks from Anaheim. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
you agree with her?
I agree with her.
We just said I walked through Compton, which is much worse than New Orleans.
But that was one time. Do that 100 times, I guarantee something would happen.
So, you walk through any city 100 times and I guarantee something would happen. Not my neighborhood. City, not Middletown.
But that's the whole point. That's our whole argument.
But it's not because of black people. It's not, oh, black people are going to shoot you because you're white. No, it is.
No, it's because of the economic situation that they are currently still suffering through, which a lot of people don't want to look into. If you go into, New Orleans right now, you're going to see a lot of stuff that would probably frustrate you. Like, oh, look at Taekwon over there with his pants sagging with his gun in his hand. But think about generations and generations and generations of being turned down because of what they look like. And if you think it doesn't happen, then research it. Because it happens. It's happened for 400 years in that part of town. And to be consistently told that I hate you because you're different over and over and over again, I'm not saying they specifically were, but generations of that, yes, it has an effect.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because she said you guys just don't know what we experienced, which I think is hysterical. She said we're from the streets.
I was on 4th Street today. That's called, literally is the highest death per capita in the United States of America, yes, including Chicago. And I was on 4th Street today. And yeah, if I walked down 4th Street, I saw a couple guys that I was scared of.
Because they were black?
Because it's 4th Street, and yes, because they were black, yes.
What do you mean?
Because most likely, what are you doing walking on a Tuesday night at 9:30, standing in a corner looking creepy? If it was my grandmother...
So it wasn't because they were black.
If it was my grandmother and she had her pants sagging and holding, you know, with her hand down her pants, I'd be like, oh shit, excuse me, that woman is gonna do something weird.
You meant
shoot. Right. Oh, Ellie Goulding, right.
So you didn't mean because they were black. You meant
because of the situation and because of where he
was. Exactly.
And because he looked shady. If someone looks shady, they look shady. I don't care if they're an alien. I don't care if they...
I was just...
Yeah.
I was just trying to bust your Lady Gaga's. And...
I mean, all these...
I was trying to bust your Lady Gaga's.
Excuse me.
Okay, we gotta wind this show down. It seems like we can never, like, we could just have this episode. We could just have this.
We can have this episode consistently. Well, I think that we're so used to being in our comfort zone, we have to talk about this weird type of stuff. And the way that we move forward is by using our minds and really thinking about the cause of a lot of these things and why there are certain groups and why we as humans are so socially inept, rather than just looking at a black person or an Asian person or whatever and putting them in that box. You know, and I think anyone would agree with that. I think that anyone, you know, there's so much to be said. There's infinite podcasts about this topic and we still wouldn't be much further, but that having open discussions about it is important and people not getting offended. I mean, I know I'm an idiot. There needs to be topics talked about that are awkward and that make people
uncomfortable.
To
do away with uncomfortableness,
right,
you need to get uncomfortable, and then it becomes comfortable.
Right.
I like that quote. You should write that down.
I've heard it.
Share you. What story? Oh, one of the Oprah stories. She said your story is very moving, Kyle.
Oprah, probably the live class.
Yeah, probably one of the Oprah shows. Thank you. And I'm trying to do my piece to help others like I was helped. I believe that telling your story, you know, I saw on those shows, when I did those 4 shows, that me telling my story, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of people, strangers, that to this day email me, message me, find me on Facebook, all kinds of stuff, and say how me telling my story helped them. And it was then that I realized that if me telling my story could change somebody's life, imagine if we all told our stories, which is why I started this Kyle2U. I thought, what a great way to tell stories through having people on, through you guys interacting, through all kinds of stuff, where if we all tell our story enough, who's it going to touch? You know? And the more we tell it, the more people we can touch. The more people we touch, the more minds we can change. So that's why we have topics like this. Yeah, so that's why I do it, Tracy. I not stop talking until somebody shuts me up, and that will be pretty hard.
No. They can try.
Yeah, they can try. Yes, it is a great combo. Thank you so much. I really appreciated you guys coming and contributing, because it wouldn't be a show without you guys. So you guys rock.
I love you.
Hearts to you. Love you. I love you too.
White power.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who saw that, it was a joke, guys. You're gonna be okay.
Good night. Dance party.